In 1961, Mr. Hong established the Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital at the far edge of Gyeonggi City, located within Seoul, South Korea. Stretching across 11,500 square meters, this massive hospital quickly earned a reputation as a major institution of its time. However, in 1979, a sinister chapter unfolded. The hospital director and an unhinged psychiatrist conducted dark experiments that allegedly led to the deaths of 42 patients. Public outrage simmered, but the incident was quietly swept under the rug by powerful authorities. Afterward, Mr. Hong fled the country, and under mysterious circumstances, the director committed suicide in one of the hospital rooms. This marked the start of eerie, unexplained phenomena that only grew more terrifying with time. By July 1996, news of the hospital's abandonment spread throughout South Korea. In 2012, when CNN Travel conducted research on the location, they deemed Gonjiam Hospital the 7th most haunted place in the world. Despite warnings, people from various countries and local residents sneak into the hospital and capture several controversial photos. Inspired by this dark legend, the film, Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, was released in 2018. A few months back, two high school friends decided to live stream their experience at Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital, eager to witness its haunting atmosphere firsthand. It is said that the hospital's director committed suicide in room 402, on the 4th floor. And since then, despite numerous attempts, the door to that room could not be opened. But when these two friends attempted to open the door, they mysteriously vanished that very day. As news of their disappearance went viral, Jun, the owner of the YouTube channel Horror Time, made plans to investigate the friends' disappearance and uncover the truth behind the hauntings at Gonjiam Hospital. There are even darker stories surrounding this infamous location. During wartime, it's rumored that a large group of Japanese soldiers was massacred and buried on this land to ensure their bodies would never be found. Later, the massive Gonjiam Hospital was allegedly built atop the burial grounds, shrouding the area in a sinister history that only deepens its haunted reputation. Jun's team consists of Lee, Park, and Ji-hyun, but this time they also add 3 subscribers, Jimmy, Charlotte, and Mimi. Jun explains the plan to everyone as they set off toward their destination. Their target is 1 million views, which will earn them several $1,000s through ad revenue. To capture exclusive footage during the live stream, they use multiple GoPro cameras, sensor cameras, POV double-sided cameras, drones, night vision equipment, and 360-degree cameras, along with electromagnetic sensors. From a remote camp set up a short distance from the hospital, Jun will control everything while the others proceed with the exploration. They set up a camp a bit away from the hospital. Once Jun gets everything ready for control, the others finish dinner and start walking toward the hospital. On the way, they find a big underwear lying around and jokingly tie it to a tree as a marker. Then, everyone enters Gonjiam Hospital. Before the live stream begins, Lee, Park, and Ji-hyun install cameras and lights on each floor, specifically focusing on the so-called ghost spots. These are areas where previous visitors have reportedly witnessed strange sights or felt unsettling experiences. After setting everything up, they start the YouTube live stream. The hallways and rooms of Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital stand abandoned, silent witnesses to countless deaths. On the 1st floor, Charlotte places a small dish of holy water to provoke the spirits. Having visited haunted places 3 times before, she's come prepared with some basic paranormal knowledge. The team moves up to the 2nd floor. While explaining the sensor cameras to their audience, the back door suddenly slams shut with a loud bang. It's their first haunting experience of the night. Though startled, they remind themselves that they came here mentally prepared for whatever may happen. The eerie experience occurs in none other than the director's room. Inside, they spot old group photos of mental patients with the director, and even a few photos of him with a former president of South Korea. The pictures reveal that the director was an avid table tennis player, and it's rumored that some visitors have heard the sound of ping-pong balls echoing on the 4th floor. Just then, strands of hair are seen dangling from the ceiling above. Shocked, Charlotte and Park capture the image, then split into groups and return to the 1st floor. Charlotte, following her usual style, scribbles her name on the wall to mark her 4th adventure, adding a note for her own thrill. Just below her mark, someone else has already written, "Let's live here." The message adds a disturbing final touch to an already chilling experience. As they enter the adjacent lab, they find a chilling assortment of items left behind: bandages, medications, syringes, and a microscope. But the most unsettling discovery is a doll inside a cabinet. The very same doll that appears in the group photo clutched by one of the patients. Charlotte mentions that a picture taken in this very spot was uploaded on social media, showing a shadowy figure behind the girl. Just then, Charlotte steps onto a rotten chicken leg lying on the floor. But how did it get there? Meanwhile, Jimmy and Mimi reach the 3rd floor and find the table tennis board the director once used. This floor is rumored to have housed the mental patients, with the nearby bathroom known as one of the most infamous ghost spots. Directly opposite is a large water storage tank. By this time, Charlotte and Park arrive in front of the infamous room 402. Although no one has been able to open it until now, they are determined to do so today. Meanwhile, the live view count surpasses 55,000. Hajun excitedly checks every camera, knowing that the real game is about to begin. Actually, they are about to attempt a ritual to summon the director's spirit. With Mimi acting as the guest to complete the ritual, they light candles and wait. But suddenly, the candlelight goes out, and bells tied with red strings begin to jingle ominously. Panicking, the team prepares to leave, but Mimi notices something chilling. Every sensor camera has turned to face the opposite direction. It's undeniable evidence that Gonjiam Asylum is truly haunted. Meanwhile, when Hajun's phone rings for Lee and Park, they suddenly separate from the others. Here comes the biggest twist. Everything that has been happening to them so far has been staged. Hajun had orchestrated the entire scenario without telling everyone, making it appear as if the paranormal activity was real to both the viewers and the rest of the team. Thrilled with the success, Hajun encourages them to keep up the act, as views have now touched 100,000. Just as he finishes the call, the monitors and lights begin to flicker ominously. Just as quickly, when everything stabilizes, a chilling breeze sweeps through the room. Meanwhile, the entire team is shocked when they enter the lab, as the doll has moved from its original spot on the table. Charlotte is convinced that the doll was not there moments ago. That realization sends a jolt of fear through them. If the doll has moved, they are not alone. When Lee picks up the doll to film it, Charlotte screams in terror, warning that they shouldn't touch such a cursed object in a haunted place. Yet, unaware of the prank being played by Lee and Park, their trick boosts the view count even further. At this moment, they convince the others to stay a little longer to cover room 402 before leaving. Hajun instructs Mimi and Jimmy to go to the 4th floor and install the infrared flash on the ceiling. Meanwhile, they all enter the collective yard room and see rows of wooden boxes lined against the wall. These were once used for treating patients. However, the strange thing is that the holes in the lids, which should be at face level, are all at chest height. Out of curiosity, Lee sticks his hand into one of the holes, and suddenly, something started pulling him from inside. Everyone is terrified, but Lee feels a thrill of delight. His prank has worked. However, Ji-hyun now starts to feel suspicious and attempts to reach in. Lee desperately tries to stop her, but Ji-hyun forcefully pushes her hand into the hole, and the tension in the room reaching a breaking point. Ji-hyun screams in terror, startling Lee and Park, who stand frozen in disbelief. As they pull her hands away, they shocked at the sight of fresh scratches marring Ji-hyun's hand. Just then, the lid of one of the boxes pops open on its own, and, propelled by an unseen force, Charlotte's scarf suddenly lifted into the air, sending everyone running in fear. The paranormal phenomena they had been faking are suddenly becoming real. But, more surprises await on the lower floor. As they race down the corridor, they catch sight of a chilling transformation on the wall where Charlotte had written her name. The phrase, "Let's live here," has morphed into "Let's die." After this incident, Ji-hyun and Charlotte leave the hospital mid-live stream. Meanwhile, Lee calls Hajun to explain everything. Hajun checks the recordings and confirms that the wall indeed had "Let's live" written on it before. However, by that time, their views have skyrocketed past 300,000. To maintain the excitement, Hajun tells them that it's not true, and Charlotte must have misread it. He suggests that Ji-hyun might have staged the drama to leave the hospital. Despite their arguments over the flying scarf, Lee and Park ultimately agree to cover the upper floors in room 402. But Lee demands, "But we want a 20% increase in our share of the earnings from this video." "Fine," Hajun relents, a hint of annoyance creeping in. Hajun says, "But this is your last chance to capture something truly spooky. You'll need it if you want to keep the views climbing." But here comes another twist. Hajun notices in the video that everyone is standing in front of the camera before entering room 402. If everyone is in front of the camera, then who is recording the video? At that moment, the camp lights go out, and the monitor starts flickering again. A chilling breeze sweeps through outside. Ji-hyun and Charlotte are still running, and the path from the hospital to the camp feels endlessly long. They spot the diapered tree and breathe a sigh of relief, knowing they are heading in the right direction. Meanwhile, when they go to check after hearing a noise from the supply room, a wheelchair rolls out from behind the cabinet with a creaking sound, and everything in the room to get stuck to the ceiling. They don't get time to think, and heavy objects from the room begin to be hurled at them by some invisible force. When a heavy blow hits Lee on the head, he loses consciousness. Just then, Park is pulled away by some invisible force, and he faints as well. Despite all this chaos, Hajun's focus is still on the live stream, where views have surged past 800,000. Meanwhile, Ji-hyun and Charlotte aren't faring any better. They keep ending up in front of that same diapered tree, trapped in a maze. Suddenly, Ji-hyun catches the familiar stench of rotten chicken legs. Charlotte notices that the lab's medications and syringes are scattered in front of her. At that moment, she notices that Ji-hyun is standing with his head down, facing the opposite direction. Trembling with fear, she places her hand on his shoulder, and as Charlotte is suddenly thrown into the air, she gasps for breath and starts running. She can see the camp ahead, but as she steps inside, a chill runs down her spine. She finds herself standing in an empty hallway of the hospital. In the distance, Ji-hyun stands in the dark, muttering something to herself, and at her feet lies the doll. When Charlotte shines her flashlight ahead, she is horrified to see a grotesque, naked figure, an emaciated man with a stitched-up torso from his chest to his abdomen. The man slowly approaches towards the doll. This is the same man who was sitting with the director in that group photo, holding the doll. Just then, the door to the outside slams shut behind her, and after an unknown amount of time passes, Park regains consciousness and remembers Jimmy and Mimi, who are busy trying to open the door to room 402. When Park tells them to leave everything behind and run, Hajun becomes furious, because they are just a little away from 1 million views. Hajun calls them and urges them to open the door, but Park goes live, and reveals that they had been faking everything from the beginning. However, ever since they attempted the ritual and encountered the doll, everything has turned into reality. Gonjiam is truly haunted, and he doubts if their remaining teammates are even alive. They must find Lee and escape the hospital at all costs. As the situation spirals out of control, Hazen sets up a POV camera and, with the drone, heads out toward the hospital himself. Just then, someone hurls a table tennis ball from the darkness towards Park and the others, while from inside room 402, someone begins to unlock the door. Suddenly, they hear Charlotte's horrifying scream from within. As Park tries to flee in fear, the sensor lights mounted on the ceiling start flashing one by one, but as far as they can see, there is no one in front of them, just the three of them. At that moment, the door to room 402 swings open on its own. As Hajun attempts to see what's happening inside the hospital with the drone, he is frozen in fear. In front of an open window above, someone is chewing Charlotte's head. Meanwhile, inside room 402, they realize they are all standing in water. There are no windows in this room, and even the door they entered through has vanished. Suddenly, everyone looks up in astonishment, as water is floating where the ceiling should be. But how is this possible? Trembling with fear, Park notices two hands reaching out from behind everyone and trying to grab them. Just then, sensing another presence, he sees through the night vision camera a girl in a school dress standing there. It's the same girl who went missing from Gonjiam Asylum months ago. In that moment, a bone-chilling sound echoes through the room, and as the camera starts flickering, they see the 42 deceased patients standing in front of them. And with each death, the Gonjiam Asylum slowly comes to life. Driven by the lure of views, Hajun enters the hospital, and the atmosphere inside turns icy. The oppressive darkness consumes everything with the passage of time. As Hajun turns on the night vision camera, he feels someone's touch on his back. Trembling with fear, he slowly turns the camera back, and with each movement, the breath near his shoulder grows louder. And then, just as he gathers the courage to look, he sees as the mysterious spirit of the Gonjiam director throws Hajun down, Lee regains consciousness. He finds himself bound to a wheelchair. As an invisible force pushes Lee away, he sees the mental patients staring at him with unblinking eyes from behind the closed door. With his final scream, the wheelchair rolls straight into room number 402. The views on the live stream have skyrocketed from 1 million to 502. The girl, who was sitting in the thumbnail of the live stream, suddenly disappears, indicating that the director has been watching them all along. After the midnight hunting, the hospital falls silent. A chilling breeze flows unimpeded through the corridor. At that moment, The holy water placed in a vessel reminds us, they are still there. Now, I will share some information related to this incident. Although the movie shows room 402 as the haunted room, but in reality, the haunted rooms were 202 and 206. Due to the terrifying reputation of Gonjiam Asylum, this film was shot at Busan's National Maritime High School. However, after the movie's release, the influx of visitors to Gonjiam Asylum increased significantly. Therefore, Gonjiam Asylum was demolished in the same year. Yet, since the land of the hospital has not been sold, it remains abandoned to this day. I hope you enjoyed the story about Gonjiam Asylum.